let me say something that might completely change how you see yourself. You're not overwhelmed because your life is changing. You're overwhelmed because your body doesn't feel safe with that change. And that's a very different problem. Because if you've been telling yourself, I can't handle this, this is too much, I feel all over the place, why can't I just get it together? I want you to hear this clearly. You're not failing. Your nervous system is just trying to catch up to a version of your life it doesn't recognize yet. Because big life shifts, even the good ones, don't just impact your circumstances. They impact your identity, your safety, and your sense of control. So even when things are improving, your body can still respond like something is wrong. You might notice you're overthinking everything. You feel on edge for no clear reason. You keep trying to figure things out instead of just being within them. Or you suddenly just feel like you want to pull back and slow everything down. And this is where most people misread themselves. They think, this means I'm not ready. This means something is wrong. This means I should go back to what felt easier. No, it just means your system hasn't stabilized in the new reality yet. And today's video is going to give you something most people never learn. How to regulate your body while your life is expanding. Not after things settle. Not once everything feels perfect. But while you're in the middle of change. Now, if you're new here, let me quickly ground you into what we do in this space. Hi, my name is Cherry. I'm a spiritual life coach, numerologist, and energy alchemist. And I help people break out of people pleasing, emotional overwhelm, and patterns that keep them stuck in lives that they don't actually reflect who they are anymore. We don't just talk about mindset here. We go into the real mechanics of change, your nervous system, your identity, your energetic patterns through the 10 energy bodies. Because you don't need more information. You need a system that allows your body to feel safe enough to actually change. And April is all about Energy Body 4, the neutral mind. The part of you that creates space, that allows you to observe without spiraling, that helps you stay grounded when everything around you is shifting. So if you've been feeling overwhelmed, unsettled, or like your emotions are all over the place, this is exactly where you need to be. And before we go deeper, make sure you hit the subscribe button and tap the notification bell, because this channel isn't about temporary motivation. It's about helping you actually stabilize into the life you say you want. Let's break down what actually happens in your body when your life starts shifting. Because this part is important. When your external reality changes, whether that's a new opportunity, a relationship evolving, more visibility, more responsibility, more stability, or even just you stepping into a new version of yourself. Your nervous system doesn't immediately celebrate that. It assesses it. And the first question your body asks is not, is this good for me? It asks, is this familiar to me? And if the answer is no, your system goes into protection mode, not because something is wrong, but because something is different. And this is where people start experiencing that feeling of overwhelm. But overwhelm isn't always about too much happening. It's often about too much unfamiliarity at once. Your body is trying to process new emotions, new expectations, new levels of visibility, new ways of being. And it doesn't yet have a reference point for it. So it starts trying to regain control. And this is where you'll see a few very common responses show up. One, hyperactivation, like an override. This is where your system speeds up. You start overthinking everything, trying to figure everything out, planning, analyzing, anticipating. Your mind is constantly scanning for what could go wrong. What am I missing? What do I need to prepare for? It's not because you don't trust yourself. It's because your body is trying to create certainty in uncertainty. 2, control. This is where you start trying to manage everything. You want to control outcomes, control how people perceive you, control how things unfold. You double check things that don't need checking. You try to get ahead of problems that don't exist yet, because control creates a temporary sense of safety. 3, the withdrawal. And for some people, it goes the other way. Instead of speeding up, you slow down. You pull back. You avoid. You procrastinate. You disconnect. Not because you don't care, but because your system is trying to reduce stimulation. It's trying to bring you back to what feels manageable. 4, seeking reassurance. You might find yourself needing validation, asking, is this okay? Am I doing the right thing? What do you think? Because your internal sense of safety hasn't stabilized yet. So you look for it externally. And here's the key thing I want you to understand. None of these responses mean you're doing something wrong. They are all regulation strategies. Your body is trying to bring you back to a state it recognizes. The problem is that state is often your old baseline. And your old baseline might have been stress, overthinking, overgiving, chaos, uncertainty. So when your life starts moving into something calmer, more stable, or more aligned, your body doesn't recognize that as safe yet. It recognizes your old patterns as safe. And that's why you feel like you're being pulled backwards. This is why change can feel so destabilizing. Not because it's wrong, but because your body hasn't learned how to feel safe in it yet. And this is where Energy Body 4, the neutral mind, becomes essential, because the neutral mind allows you to observe what's happening without immediately reacting to it. It creates space between what your body feels and what you do next. And that space is where regulation becomes possible. Now, this next part is really important because change doesn't affect everyone in the same way. And if you're someone who has people-pleasing patterns, big life shifts can feel especially overwhelming, not because you're weak, not because you can't handle it, but because your identity has been built around something very specific, external stability, meaning your sense of safety has been tied to keeping other people happy, avoiding conflict, reading the room, managing emotions, not just yours, but everyone else's. So your system has learned, if everything around me is okay, then I'm okay. But when your life starts shifting, that external stability disappears. The rules change. The dynamics change. The expectations change. And suddenly the strategies that used to keep you safe don't work in the same way anymore. You can't control everything. You can't predict everything. You can't manage every outcome. And that's where the discomfort starts to rise. Because for people pleasers, safety has never really been internal. It's been relational. It's been based on how are they feeling? Are they okay with me? Am I doing the right thing? Is everything smooth? So when you move into a new level of your life, especially one that requires you to be more visible, make clear decisions, hold boundaries, take up more space, or stop over-accommodating, your system starts to panic. Not because the new version of your life is wrong, but because it requires a different version of you. A version of you that doesn't rely on approval of feeling safe, doesn't collapse when someone disagrees, doesn't over-adjust to keep the peace. And if you spent years building your identity around being the one who keeps everything together, that shift can feel like losing control. So what happens? You start trying to go back. You soften your boundaries. You over-explain yourself. You hesitate. You second-guess decisions that were actually clear. You look for reassurance instead of trusting your own perception. Not because you don't know what to do, but because your system is trying to return to the version of you it recognizes. And this is the part that most people don't realize. People-pleasing isn't just a behavior. It's a regulation strategy. It's how your body learned to feel safe. So when you remove that strategy or try to outgrow it, your system has to learn a completely new way of stabilizing. And that's where Energy Body 4, the neutral mind, becomes so powerful. Because instead of stabilizing through other people, you begin stabilizing through clarity, through observation, through truth. Not what do they need from me, but what is actually happening here? What feels true for me? What is aligned, not just comfortable? And that shift is everything, because the moment your safety stops depending on other people, you stop needing to control everything around you. You stop over-adjusting. You stop abandoning yourself just to keep things smooth. But let's be honest for a second. That doesn't feel comfortable straight away, because you're learning to feel safe in a completely different way. And that takes time. It takes repetition. It takes moments where you feel the urge to go back and you don't. And that's exactly what we're going to start building in this next part. Now we're going to slow everything down, because understanding what's happening is one thing, but actually feeling safe in it is something completely different. And this is the part most people skip. They try to think their way through change. They try to analyze it, plan it, control it. But your nervous system doesn't respond to logic. It responds to safety. So this practice is about helping your body feel safe while everything around you is shifting. If you can, sit in a way that feels supported. Feet on the ground, back resting. Let your shoulders drop slightly. Take a slow breath in through your nose and a long breath out through your mouth. Again, slow inhale, long exhale. Let your body start to settle. Now, instead of going into your thoughts, I want you to bring your awareness to your environment. Look around the space you're in. Notice something you can see. Notice something you can see, something you can hear, something you can feel physically. Just gently orientate yourself to where you are, because when your system feels overwhelmed, it often loses connection to the present moment. So this brings you back. Now bring your attention into your body. Notice your feet on the ground. Notice the support beneath you. Notice your breath moving in and out. You don't need to change anything. Just observe. Now I want you to bring to mind something in your life that is currently changing. Again, nothing overwhelming, just something that feels a little uncertain. Maybe things are improving. Maybe something is shifting. Maybe you're stepping into something new. And just notice what happens in your body. Does anything tighten? Does your breath change? Does your mind start trying to figure things out? Just observe. No judgment. Now place one hand on your chest and one hand on your belly and say internally, I am safe in this moment. Not in the future, not forever, just right now. I am safe in this moment. Take a slow breath. Let your body feel that. Now we bring in the neutral mind. Instead of asking, what if this goes wrong? We ask, what is actually happening right now? And the answer might be simple. I'm sitting here. I'm breathing. I'm okay. Let that be enough. Now say, I don't need to solve everything right now. Feel how that lands, because a lot of overwhelm comes from trying to figure out the entire future instead of staying in the present. Take another slow breath and say, I can experience change without rushing to control it. Let your shoulders soften. Let your jaw unclench. Let your body settle. And just stay here for a few moments, breathing, not fixing, not analyzing, just being, because regulation isn't about removing discomfort. It's about staying connected to yourself while discomfort is present. And the more you practice this, the more your body starts to realize, I don't need to panic when things change. I don't need to go backwards to feel safe. I can stay right here. Now gently bring your awareness back to your surroundings. Feel your body, feel your breath, and just notice you didn't need to fix anything. You didn't need to escape. You just needed to come back to yourself, because the truth is, you don't need to slow your life down to feel safe. You need to teach your body how to feel safe as your life expands. Now, I know you won't always sit down and do the full practice. So let me give you a simple in-the-moment tool that you can use when the spiral starts, because I want this to be not just helpful, but life-changing. Now, the practice we did is powerful, but let's be real. You're not always going to have 10-15 minutes to sit, breathe and regulate. Most of the time, this pattern shows up in the middle of your life, when you're texting someone, when you're about to make a decision, when you're in a conversation, when your mind suddenly starts spiraling for no clear reason. So what you need are micro shifts, small things you can do in real time that stop you from getting pulled back into the pattern. First, pause before you react. This one sounds simple, but it changes everything. When you feel that urge to over-explain, pull back, fix something, seek reassurance, or second-guess yourself, pause. Even if it's just for a few seconds, because that pause is where your neutral mind lives. That's where you move from automatic reactions into conscious response. Second, name the sensation, not the story. When your system gets activated, your mind will create a story. What if this goes wrong? This doesn't feel right, something is off. Instead of following the story, bring it back to the body. Ask, what am I actually feeling right now? Tight chest, restlessness, tension in the stomach. Name the sensation. Because when you stay in the body, you stop feeding the spiral. Thirdly, slow the moment down. When your nervous system feels unsafe, it creates urgency. It makes everything feel like it needs to be figured out right now. But most of the time, nothing actually needs immediate action. So remind yourself, I don't need to decide this right now. I can come back to this. I can take a moment. Slowing the moment down tells your body you're not in danger. Fourth, orientate back to the present. When you start spiraling, your mind is usually in the future. What if this happens? What if I mess this up? Bring yourself back. Look around. Notice where you are. Feel your feet on the ground. Take one slow breath. Because in most cases, right now is the exact moment. You're actually okay. The fifth is remind yourself this is new, not wrong. This is your anchor. Anytime you feel that discomfort when things are shifting, say, this is new, not wrong. Because that one sentence stops you from misinterpreting growth as danger. And the key with all of these isn't perfection. It's repetition. You don't need to get it right every time. You just need to start catching the pattern, catching the moment where you usually go into overdrive and choosing something slightly different. And every time you do that, you strengthen your capacity to stay present, to stay grounded, to stay in the version of your life that you're actually moving towards. Because the goal is never to feel overwhelmed. The goal is to know what to do when you are. Now, this is where everything starts to stabilize long term. Because what you believe about yourself will always shape how you move. And if you've been experiencing overwhelm during change, there's usually an identity sitting underneath it that sounds like, I can't handle this. This is too much for me. I feel all over the place. I just need things to calm down. And I want you to gently challenge that, because what you're experiencing today already shows something different. You can handle it. Your body just hasn't learned how to feel safe in it yet. That's very different. Because if you believe I can handle this, then every time your life expands, your system will look for evidence to prove that's true. You'll feel overwhelmed. And instead of seeing it as a temporary response, you make it mean something about who you are. See, I knew this was too much. And then what happens? You slow everything down. You pull back. You go back to what feels manageable. Not because you need to, but because your identity is leading your behavior. So instead of reinforcing that identity, we introduce a new one. Again, not something fake, not something forced, something grounded in truth. I am learning to handle expansion. Feel how different that is. It doesn't deny the discomfort. It doesn't pretend everything is easy. It acknowledges that you're in the process of becoming someone new. I am learning to stay grounded while things change. I am learning to feel safe in something unfamiliar. I am learning to hold more without collapsing. And identity shifts don't happen in one big moment. They happen through repetition, through moments where you feel overwhelmed. And instead of going, I can't do this, you remind yourself, this is just my body catching up. And you stay, even for a few seconds longer, even in a small way. And every time you do that, you teach your system something new. You teach it, I don't need to go back to feel safe. I can stay here. And over time, something starts to change. What once felt overwhelming starts to feel manageable. What once felt unsafe starts to feel normal. And that's how expansion becomes your new baseline. Because the goal isn't to eliminate discomfort. The goal is to become the version of you who can stay present within it. Now, I want you to take a moment and really sit with this. Everything you've been feeling during this shift, the overwhelm, the overthinking, the urge to pull back, the moments where you feel like you're losing control. It doesn't mean something is going wrong. It means something is changing, and your body is learning how to exist inside that change. Because for a long time, your system has been calibrated to a certain way of living, a certain level of stress, a certain level of responsibility, a certain way to navigate the world. And now that's shifting. And instead of seeing that as growth, your system has been interpreting it as instability. So it tries to bring you back to what feels known, back to what feels predictable, back to what feels manageable, even if that version of your life isn't what you actually want anymore. But now you can see it. You see the pattern. You see the moment where it starts, the moment where your body tightens, your mind speeds up, and you feel like you need to do something, fix something, figure something out, or pull back completely. And that moment is where everything changes. Because now Instead of reacting automatically, you have a choice. You can go back to what feels familiar, or you can stay. You can stay in the discomfort. You can stay in the uncertainty. You can stay in the version of your life that is expanding, even if your body hasn't fully caught up yet. And every time you choose to stay, even just for a few seconds longer than you normally would, you are rewiring your system. You are teaching your body, I don't need to go backwards to feel safe. And that's how this changes. Not through forcing yourself to be different, but through learning how to stay when everything in you wants to retreat. And if you're listening to this and thinking, this is exactly what I'm experiencing, and I don't want to keep going back, because this isn't just about managing your emotions. It's about learning to feel safe in a life that actually matches who you're becoming. We look at your patterns, your nervous system responses, your identity, and we build a way of moving forward where you don't have to keep pulling yourself back every time things start working. And if you want to go even deeper and understand the patterns behind your reactions, why change affects you the way it does, and what your soul is actually here to move through, your Numerology Roadmap freebie is down in the description box below. There's also a link for a Numerology Road Through Breakthrough session, which will give you that clarity. And before we go, I want you to take one more breath and ask yourself honestly, where in my life am I trying to go backwards because it feels safer than moving forward? And this time, don't fix it. Don't judge it, just see it. Because the moment you can see it clearly is the moment it starts to change. And if you feel comfortable doing so, put it in the comments. I would love to hear from you. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and tap the notification bell so you don't miss the next video. Because you don't need to slow down your life to feel safe. You just need to learn how to stay as it expands. And that's where everything shifts. So I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.